I saw a couple of interesting posts this morning on Twitter by a couple of Anglophone Canadian poets. The first was Rob Taylor, the second Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, Rob Taylor remarked that we don't need more book prizes in Canada. He's sort of responding, I think, to this controversy that's ongoing about the reshaping of the Griffin Prize and how it's not placing an emphasis on Canadian poets and Canadian publications, but it's become quote-unquote international, which means that a lot of Canadian voices will sort of get drowned out. And in the case of Fitzpatrick, he wants to emphasize, he was sort of riffing on Rob Taylor's post, and he wanted to emphasize that poetry is really it's a coterie form is the term that he uses. It's a very localized form. Whatever one does to produce poetry, including starting one's own micropresses or whatever, organizing one's own readings, counts as production of poetry. Now, I'm in agreement with both of them, except I'd like to sort of augment what they're saying a little bit and sort of add some nuance, if I may. The first is that in the case of Taylor's posts, Rob Taylor's posts about reading books, how we need to read books more than sort of pay attention to prizes. Sure, that's fine, but the tradition that I have encountered here living in South Korea is quite different, and one doesn't really need even books necessarily to produce poetry. In Korea, for most of its history, and it has a very, very deep and very rich poetic tradition, the poems were produced as ink paintings, and often poets were also artists. The sort of fascination with the book as an objet d'art has also exists in South Korea, but only very recently, in the past few decades. In the case of Fitzpatrick, poetry is very localized, it's true. But again, we come back to this issue of how Canadians themselves sort of rank and create hierarchies. And Canadians love prizes, they love institutions, and I think that is something that we need to talk about a little bit more, and I hope Fitzpatrick adds some of his own ideas on this topic.